Hello, my name is Rachel, and Merry Christmas! I am doing my yearly tradition where I hop on here and read you guys a Gothic ghost story, or, you know, a Gothic meaning as in literature, not necessarily Gothic. I did find this awesome book, Christmas Gothic Short Stories, Gothic Fantasy, at I think a Barnes & Noble, and it has just a whole bunch of Christmas horror stories, both contemporary and classic, and we are going to read a short one of these today. And I don't know why I've never thought of this before. I've always had this fake fireplace up here in my bedroom, but I've always filmed my Christmas videos downstairs in my normal filming room, but would just put one of my little space heaters that looks like a fireplace on a chair behind me. But I have this much more convincing fake fireplace right here. This is going to go with me when I move. It came with me when I moved here. It uses cans of fuel for the fire. So it doesn't really necessarily produce a lot of warmth. It just gives you a nice atmosphere. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about the fireplace. I could have used for the past, I think this is our 4th year doing this, for the past 4 years. I also do have my little Christmas/Halloween tree up here. Not that you can see it because the camera, I had problems figuring out my camera angle for all this. And I also have this. Let me show him off. He is a Christmas tree topper. He's a little dusty. Everything's a little dusty right now with all the moving stuff, getting ready to moving. I'm just stirring up dust everywhere. But yeah, he is literally a Christmas tree topper, but he's a cat wizard holding a bat. How cute is he? My mother got him for me years ago, and I've kept him on my mantelpiece ever since. Actually, he was on my downstairs mantelpiece because I also have a real mantelpiece in my living room. It just has been bricked up, so and I could have done it in front of there too. I don't know why I always chose to put one of my little heaters on top of a chair behind me. But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm here to wish you a Merry Christmas and read you a Christmas short story, a creepy Christmas short story, as is our tradition here on this channel. But I do hope everyone is just having a wonderful day. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, I hope this day, as well as your life, is filled with much love and joy and good family and friends. So we are going to actually read The Ghost of Christmas Eve. And this is a rather short story. It's only like 2 pages. I've never read this before, so if I stumble over my words, I apologize, because this was written by J.M. Barrie. And J.M. Barrie is most famous for creating Peter Pan. So he wrote the original Peter Pan stories. And so this was written either the late 1800s or the early 1900s. So the language can get a little interesting sometimes when we're reading stories that old. I think I tripped over some words when I was reading Gift of the Magi and The Little Match Girl. But we're going to give this a go. I can't remember the story we read last year. It was a longer one. But anyway, moving on. Let me read you your Christmas story. I'm sorry, I'm in just a rambling mood today. I apologize. But let's read our story. Again, The Ghost of Christmas Eve by J.M. Barrie. A few years ago, as some may remember, a startling ghost paper appeared in the monthly organ of the Society for Haunting Houses. The writer guaranteed the truth of his statement, and even gave the name of the Yorkshire manor house in which the affair took place. The article and the discussion to which it gave rise agitated me a great deal, and I consulted Pettigrew about the advisability of clearing up the mystery. The writer wrote that he distinctly saw an arm pass through the apparition and come out the other side, and indeed, I still remember his saying so next morning. He had a scared face. But I had presence of mind and continued eating my rolls and marmalade as if my briar had nothing to do with this miraculous affair. Seeing that he made a paper of it, I suppose he is justified in touching up the incidental details. He says, for instance, that we were told the story of the ghost, which is said to haunt the house just before going to bed. As far as I remember, it was only mentioned at luncheon, and then skeptically. Instead of there being snow falling outside and an eerie wailing through the trees that night, the night was still and muggy. Lastly, I did not know until the journal reached my hands that he was put into the room known as the haunted chamber, nor that in that room the fire is noted for casting weird shadows upon the walls. This, however, may be so. The legend of the Manor House ghost he tells precisely as it is known to me. The tragedy dates back to the time of Charles I and is led up to by a pathetic love story which I need not give. Suffice it that for 7 days and nights the old steward had been anxiously awaiting the return of his young master and mistress from their honeymoon. On Christmas Eve, after he had gone to bed, there was a great clanging of the doorbell. Flinging on his dressing gown, he hastened downstairs. According to the story, a number of servants watched him and saw by the light of his candle that his face was an ashy white. He took off the chains of the door, unbolted it, and pulled it open. What he saw no human being knows, but it must have been something awful, for without a cry, the old steward fell dead in the hall. Perhaps the strangest part of the story is this, that the shadow of a burly man holding a pistol in his hand entered by the open door, stepped over the steward's body, and, gliding up the stairs, disappeared. No one could say where. Such is the legend. I shall not tell the many ingenious explanations of it that have been offered. Every Christmas Eve, however, the silent scene is said to be gone through again, and tradition declares that no person lives for 12 months at whom the ghostly intruder points his pistol. On Christmas Day, the gentleman who tells the tale in a scientific journal created some sensation at the breakfast table by solemnly asserting that he had seen the ghost. Most of the men present scouted his story, which may be condensed into a few words. He had retired to his bedroom at a fairly early hour, and as he opened the door, his candlelight was blown out. He tried to get a light from the fire, but it was too low. Eventually, he went to bed in the semi-darkness. He was awakened, he did not know at what hour, by the clanging of a bell. He sat up in bed, and the ghost story came in a rush to his mind. His fire was dead, the room was consequently dark, yet, by the by, he knew he heard no sound, that his door had opened. He cried out, "Who is that?" but got no answer. By an effort, he jumped up and went to the door, which was ajar. His bedroom was on the first floor, and looking up the stairs, he could see nothing. He felt a cold sensation at his heart. However, when he looked the other way, going slowly and without a sound down the stairs, there was an old man in a dressing gown. He carried a candle. From the top of the stairs, only part of the hall is visible, but as the apparition disappeared, the watcher had the courage to go down a few steps after him. At first, nothing was to be seen, for the candlelight had vanished. A dim light, however, entered by the long, narrow windows which flank the hall door. And after a moment, the onlooker could see that the hall was empty. He was marveling at the sudden disappearance of the steward, when to his horror he saw a body fall upon the hall floor within a few feet of the door. The watcher cannot say whether he cried out, nor how long he stood there trembling. He came to himself with a start, as he realized that something was coming up the stairs. Fear prevented his taking flight, and in a moment the thing was at his side. Then he saw instinctively that it was not the figure he had seen descend. He saw a younger man in a heavy overcoat, but with no hat on his head. He wore on his face the look of extravagant triumph. The guest boldly put out his hand towards the figure. To his amazement, his arm went through it. The ghost paused for a moment and looked behind it. It was then that the watcher realized that it carried a pistol in its right hand. He was by this time in a highly strung condition, and he stood trembling lest the pistol should be pointed at him. The apparition, however, rapidly glided up the stairs and was soon lost to sight. Such are the main facts of the story, none of which I contradicted at the time. I cannot say absolutely that I can clear up this mystery, but my suspicions are confirmed by a good deal of circumstantial evidence. This will not be understood unless I explain my strange infirmity. Wherever I went, I used to be troubled with a persistence that I had left my pipe behind, often even at the dinner table. I paused in the middle of a sentence as if stricken with sudden pain. Then my hand went down to my pocket. Sometimes, even after I felt my pipe, I had a conviction that it was stopped, and only by a desperate effort did I keep myself from pondering it and blowing down it. I distinctly remember once dreaming 3 nights in succession that I was on the Scotch Express without it. More than once, I know I have wandered in my sleep looking for it in all sorts of places, and after I went to bed, I generally jumped out just to make sure of it. My strong belief then is that I was the ghost seen by the writer of the paper. I fancy that I rose in my sleep, lighted a candle, and wandered down to the hall to feel if my pipe was safe in my coat, which was hanging there. The light had gone out when I was in the hall. Probably the body seemed to fall on the hall floor with some other coat which I had flung there to get more easily at my own. I cannot account for the bell, but perhaps the gentleman in the haunted chamber dreamed that part of the affair. I had put on the overcoat before reascending. Indeed, I may say the next morning I was surprised to find it on a chair in my bedroom. Also to notice that there were several long streaks of candle grease on my dressing gown. I conclude that the pistol, which gave my face such a look of triumph, was my briar, for which I found in the morning beneath my pillow. The strangest thing of all, perhaps, is that I awoke and there was a smell of tobacco smoke in the bedroom. So that was a fun, cute little story. I hope you enjoyed it. And that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, I just hope everyone is having a Merry Christmas and everyone has a Happy New Year. And I'm looking forward to what the new year will bring. The 2023 was a mixed bag of good things and bad. And I'm hoping 2024 will usher in just the good things and less bad. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy my little reading of the story, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, of course you can give me a thumbs down. And I do apologize if I kind of read it monotone, because it was the first time I've ever read it and I wasn't really sure what was happening. I was learning with you guys. But please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs down if you didn't, and please subscribe to the channel. And I hope everyone is just staying happy, healthy, and safe in this incredibly crazy world we're living in. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye!